Hi everyone, this is Brandon-Shea Mutala, co-host of Warp 5. I just wanted to give you a heads up that we had a little bit of connectivity issues with our guest's audio, so her audio kind of cuts in and out a couple of times during the interview, but it's still a great conversation, so I hope you'll stick around and listen, and thank you very much for listening. This episode of Warp 5 is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek FM at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the nonprofit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join in on the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode or any other, please join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type Babel, that's B-A-B-E-L, into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
Hi, I'm Anthony Montgomery, Ensign Travis Mayweather on Star Trek Enterprise, and you're listening to Trek FM.
How we doing, Trip? Ready when you are. Prepare for warp.
Course laid in, sir. Request permission to get underway. Let's go.
Welcome, Boomers, to another episode of Warp 5. I am your host for this episode, Brandon-Shea Mutala, and we have got ourselves a full house. This is awesome. Brandi's here, and Patrick, and we have a special guest, but let's just say hello to the regulars first, because we haven't been together since early December. I think it was the last time we were all together recording Warp 5. Brandi, how are you doing? How you doing today?
I am so tired, and it's only Monday. But other than that, I am just peachy.
Excellent, right on. Yeah, you guys have been ramping up your Edge Live from the Edge coverage because we're early in season 2 right now. As of this recording, episode 2 has just aired, and we're having a lot of fun. And then Patrick and I just saw each other yesterday because we just recorded an episode of the Edge yesterday for New Eden, which was episode 2. Patrick, how have you been in the last 28 hours since I've seen you?
Well, I haven't slept in them.
Yes, you have.
No, I haven't. Not 1 minute. I could not sleep last night. I could not get your audio file to download. So at like 1:30, I came back down to my computer and I edited till 5 in the morning and went to work.
I am so sorry.
No, it's not your fault. My internet was messed up. But hey, I got the edit out. I got to work today. I made it home, and I'm here to make it to this talk with you and Brandi. And our special guest. Excellent. So it's all good. I'm going to crash right after this.
That's good. You should definitely go to bed. And you know what's great about this? I'm going to edit this one.
Yes, it's great. I'm done for the week. I talk, and then I'm done.
Excellent. Well, we better introduce our special guest here. We've got a brand new person to podcasting. And you know what's funny about social media is you meet people online and you see tweets and whatnot going back and forth. And our special guest is Kerry. Kerry, I don't even know your last name.
Purvis, Purvis.
Purvis, Kerry Purvis,
yes.
From Maine. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, good. Pretty good. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Right on. So, Kerry, you and I have been tweeting back and forth over the last couple of months, and I initially followed you because I saw some tweets. You were beginning your first-time watch of Star Trek Enterprise, and you actually just recently finished watching Season 1 for the very first time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Okay, now, before we get into that, I want to ask you a little bit about your Star Trek history. Tell us how you found Star Trek, and then maybe tell us why did it take so long to get to Enterprise, unless maybe you just recently found Star Trek altogether.
Oh, no, it was not recently. I've been watching Star Trek pretty much most of my life. I was born in late 79, and I started watching in the very early 80s with my mom. She loved the show, and I could not tell you what the first episode was that I watched of. It was TOS. I just remember being in my parents' kitchen and up on the fridge. They had the old black and white set, and And I don't know what the episode was, but that's all I remember. But then when Next Gen came out, that was 87. And I remember seeing the commercial announcing the new series, and I just freaked out. Ran to my mom and was saying, Mom, there's a new show. And that was really cool. And I remember watching Encounter at Farpoint with my parents and my sister, and we all really liked it. And for the next 7 years, my mom's sister and I would watch Next Gen every Sunday night and eat pizza. And for me, the Next Gen was really special. During those years that I was watching it, I was in middle school, and I was bullied a lot, and that was hard. But being able to come home and watch Star Trek and just kind of go to my happy place and not going on at school was really awesome. So it meant a lot to me growing up. And I watched Deep Space Nine and Voyager up until my senior year of high school. And at that point, I was getting ready for college, just planning different things in life, and I just didn't make time to watch anymore. And as far as Enterprise goes, I was in college when that came out, and I was still kind of in the college mindset, just with school, and I never bothered to pick it up. And I came back to Star Trek. Over the years, I did watch a lot of the films and really enjoyed those, but I didn't watch any of the series until Netflix picked it up here in the U.S. Maybe 8 years ago? I can't remember. But I recently started watching Enterprise because it's the only show. I've been watching Discovery too, but it's the only one I haven't watched. So that's why I decided to pick it up, and that's why it took so long. I just when it came out, I wasn't really watching any Star Trek.
What did you know about Enterprise going into it?
I knew it had Scott Bakula, and thought that was quite cool because I loved Quantum Leap, and I knew it was a prequel, and I knew people didn't like the theme song. And about it.
Who's your favorite character so far?
Hoshi.
Excellent. You don't have enough Hoshi love in the Star Trek Enterprise world.
Hoshi's awesome. I love her because of her love of languages. I actually have a bachelor's degree in Spanish, and I love learning languages, so I think Hoshi's amazing.
So Hoshi's your favorite character, and
yes.
So you've just finished your first season, and I guess some of the questions that I have is as a first-time watcher coming to this series for the first time, how do you feel it compares to some of the other Star Trek series? Because when Enterprise initially aired, there was a lot of animosity towards the show, and over time, people seem to appreciate it more as they've discovered it on streaming services. So coming to it as a first time, what are your initial impressions of the first season?
It's interesting that you say that, because I think if I had watched it when it originally aired, I'm not sure I would have liked it. I'm not sure maybe if it was just because I had been watching so much Star Trek for its duration. But watching it now later on its own has been really great. And I think that's a really good question. I've enjoyed it very much, actually, seeing the beginnings of the Federation and the relationship with the Vulcans and just where it all started. And it's been interesting watching that, actually, as I've been watching Discovery as well. So I found that to be very interesting. Yeah, I think it holds up pretty well. And a lot of the negative comments I've heard over the years, I'm finding they're not all warranted, I don't think.
Do you have any episodes that really surprised you?
The Andorian incident surprised me a little bit with what happened at the end with the surveillance that we had, where the Vulcans were spying on the Andorians. That was kind of a surprise twist, because we're so used to seeing the Vulcans as this honorable race, people who don't lie, and then for them to have that equipment hiding, that was kind of a shock.
Okay, so it's interesting you say it that way, because we've actually talked at length about how that's not necessarily true about Vulcans, but on this show. But so, what is your interpretation of the Vulcans in this show, and do you like them, or do you maybe not like them, but do you like the way they're being written in season 1?
I do like it, actually, and I feel like it's giving me a lot more of an understanding of what they're like, and like you were saying. It's changed my perception about them. I used to see them as kind of like this black and white, right or wrong, don't lie. Like that kind of that's how I saw them, and I'm learning now it's a little more complicated. They're like humans in a lot of ways. There's more to them than just the logic. I like the way the show is portraying them,
because Vulcans are so different on Enterprise than they are anywhere else. But in Discovery, they kind of went with how the Vulcans were portrayed in Enterprise. I don't want to spoil too much with how Enterprise goes, because there are some interesting things that happen. But, in the episode Lethe of Discovery, for instance, we see this very interesting portrayal of the Vulcans in that they're not nice to Sarek, they're not nice to Burnham, and they limit Sarek's choice for who he sends to the Academy. And that's very similar to what we've seen in the first season of Star Trek Enterprise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so.
As far as the first season goes, you watched it pretty quickly, right?
I did, yes.
Mm-hmm. You I saw you online. You bought a copy from the library to watch it, right?
Yeah, I did. I'm a librarian, so I got a lot of my material through the library and through interlibrary loan. So I had to watch it quickly because I had to return it.
Mm-hmm. Now, what episode do you think stood out the most to you as a personal favorite episode?
As a personal favorite episode, so this is really a guilty pleasure one, but I loved tweeting about Vox Sola. That episode cracked me up. The symbiotic alien that looked like it was made out of melted glue and saran wrap. That was funny. And the whole thing with the movie, people wanting to watch the movie. What was that called? Was it Wages of War? I think.
Wages of Fear.
Wages of Fear. That's it. Just everyone's obsession with that, and it just killed me when Mayweather was trying to convince Reed to go to the movie, and he was saying, no, you'll like it. Things blow up. So that's a guilty pleasure one I really liked.
It just now occurred to me that the alien in Vox Sola actually reminds me of the secretions of the aliens in Alien. Especially when in Alien 2, when you see... or Aliens, excuse me. In Aliens, the sequel, when you see Newt has been captured and she's basically, in all of this hard resin and can't escape, and Ripley literally has to break it apart to get her out. That's what it reminds me of. I was trying to think of something, and then when you were saying that, I just wait, I know what that reminds me of. Totally random thought, sorry.
So... Earlier, you said that you knew Scott Bakula was on the show and you liked that because you were a fan of Quantum Leap. That's actually one of the reasons why I like this show so much. How do you feel his acting has been thus far in this compared to Quantum Leap?
Well, I think Archer and Sam are two very different characters, but I think both of them off very well. I like his portrayal of Archer and his kind of stubborn explorer streak. He doesn't want to... take no for an answer from the Vulcans. He really wants to get out there and explore, and I love that about his portrayal. And yeah, I think it's definitely a part with what he's done before. And
yeah, because that's one of the things I like so much too. Because like you said, it is a very stark contrast to his Quantum Leap character, where every episode started with him completely unsure of who he even was, and now we have someone who's very sure of who he is throughout the whole first season.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what did you think about Detained then, which is the episode that had the guy that played Al, Dean Stockwell?
Oh my gosh, I was so excited about that. It was like a Quantum Leap reunion. That was so cool. That was actually my favorite Archer moment of the entire first season. Loved seeing them together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was great. And when he's punching things into like a computer pad, it so looks like Al.
Mm-hmm. Ziggy!
He just needed a cigar.
Yes.
They did that purposely. You know they did.
Of course they
did. So as far as Hoshi goes, did you have a favorite Hoshi moment, a favorite character moment for Hoshi from season 1?
I liked any moments where she got to use her language skills and learn a language quickly, and there were a lot of those. When Dear Doctor, when she was talking to the Mank, I think they were called, and she was saying thank you to them. Teek teek, I think how she said it. I like that. And then in Strange New World, when she and T'Pol were speaking in Vulcan, so the other people who were hallucinating wouldn't know what they were planning to do. That I really liked that one a lot. That was really cool. So yeah, anything where Hoshi speaks another language and learns it quickly, I love that.
What did you think about the Ferengi in season 1?
Okay, so I have a lot to say about that, actually.
Go, girl.
All right, so they were the Ferengi. It was how I'd seen them portrayed, I think, in other episodes and shows. So as a librarian, one thing that really fascinates me is how we preserve records for the future. And in Enterprise, humanity meets the Ferengi for the first time. Then flash forward to the 24th century, and they have no idea who they are. So my big question is, what happened to all the logs and the records? Like, why do they not know in the 24th century? And I don't know if that's a question that will ever be answered. I'm guessing it won't, but I'm having images of like someone torpedoing an archive in the 22nd century or something, and that's why the records didn't get saved. But yeah, that was one of the first things that really came to my mind. But as far as was that the one where Trip was running around in his underwear?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was an interesting episode.
See, I think they get around it because they never actually mentioned the name the Ferengi in that episode. I think they were mentioned in Dear Doctor, right? Mm-hmm. So, but there still would be video logs as to what the aliens look like. I'm assuming there's security cameras on the ship. But, they did mention the Ferengi and Dear Doctor as having dealt with the Mink at one point.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I always just thought that it was them making a pact and solemnly swearing that they were going to destroy every record of this because it was so embarrassing.
Oh.
It's like, really? These guys took over our ship? Really?
That makes sense.
Well, they did take over the Enterprise D, right? In when they had a Klingon ship in Rascals.
They did do that too. So apparently, we couldn't learn from history due to Enterprise destroying all their records. If they had only, been able to bring themselves low and admit that they screwed up. Not just kidding.
Yes. Now, I haven't gotten to later seasons, obviously, but thanks to some of the trailers on the Blu-ray, I know that they meet the Borg again. And that really, what happened? Well, no spoilers, please, but I wonder, why did they not know about that in the 24th century either? Was that another case of records being destroyed, maybe? Or maybe
we
people were...
tell you.
Oh, okay.
We cannot tell you without spoiling things.
Okay. But there is a reason, though. There is a reason.
There is a reason.
Okay, good.
The only thing I can tell you that is not a spoiler is that Bonita Frederici is playing a science researcher on that episode, and she is married to John Billingsley.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. That is the only thing I can tell you that's not spoilery.
I'm glad to hear there's a reason. That's good.
And the Borg are in it.
Yeah, yeah, but we can't say any more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I'm excited for that. Is that season 2 or 3?
It is season 2, yeah.
Yep.
Yay!
Season 2 has my favorite, second favorite. I don't know. It's tough to say, but one of my 2 favorite episodes, and it's called. What's it called now? It's the time one.
That's how much he loves it.
Future tense.
I do the stuff like that all the time. Don't worry.
It's hard to say. Future tense is one of my favorite episodes of the series.
It's hard to say, he says.
Future tense is so hard.
Hey,
there a past tense episode in one of the other series?
Deep Space Nine, yeah.
Yes, okay.
My first episode of Warp 5, I guessed it, and we did a commentary for Future Tense, and they got me on, and it was my choice. They're like, what do you want to talk about? I said, let's do a commentary for Future Tense. And then as soon as I got on, I'm like, oh, this is great, but I don't understand why you wanted me to watch these Deep Space Nine episodes.
Oh, dear.
Man, the king of the dad joke.
Oh, I love my dad jokes. They're great.
Dad jokes are the best. I make dad jokes in honor of my dad.
I didn't say they were bad. I just said he's the king of them.
Yep. Long live the king.
So, all right, let's bring it back to season 1, though.
Yes.
What did you think of the episode Unexpected? That's the one where the ship is in the wake and Trip becomes pregnant?
Oh, that was so weird.
Thank you.
It was
Thank
weird.
you.
I just thought that was weird. Yeah. That's when he found out he had a nipple on his arm, and that was just strange. Yeah. And then it was that he kept saying, like, I'm a gentleman. I was a gentleman. Like that. That was a weird episode.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, because he really didn't know he did a thing to get pregnant. Like,
right? Yeah, he just stuck his hand in some what was it like?
Magic sand.
Magic
Yeah.
sand. Yeah.
yeah, like so. It kind of happened against his will in ways. Like he said yes, but he didn't really know that's what he was doing.
Right.
Yeah, he thought he was just, activating a
game.
holodeck before knowing what a holodeck was. Turns out not so much. But it's an example of the holodeck being used for what it probably would be used for, really, on a starship,
let's
guys.
not lie.
I think so.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so I kind of want to ask you a question here. So, like, Kerry, what your Twitter handle? Tell everybody what your Twitter handle is.
It's KerrBearLib. It's KerrBearLib.
Excellent. And I asked that for a reason, because I'd like you to give us your top 5 episodes, go from 5 to 1, and we're going to call this the KerrBear Countdown.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Oh, yay. This is great. Okay, well, I've already mentioned a few of them. Number 5 is Voxola, just because it was so fun to tweet about. Don't think I'll ever forget that weird goopy gluey alien thing.
Yeah, I think we were messaging on that one. You're like, oh, I don't want gross stuff. And I'm like, you're fine. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I think what happened was I had seen Stranger Things not too long ago. Have any of you seen that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and like when I'm going off track here, but when Barb was like in the upside down and covered in that gross stuff, I looked at that this exotic alien, and I had this thought in my mind like, oh no, what's going to happen here? So, but I was glad it wasn't gross. It was just silly, and I also liked the Andorian incident a lot. Seeing Jeffrey Combs again, and the whole story with the surveillance equipment, and just the introduction of the Andorians was cool. I haven't seen TOS in a long time, so it was a reintroduction for me to the Andorians, so that was kind of cool. And Dear Doctor, I loved that. I love Prime Directive episodes, and it was kind of you see what Prime Directive looked like pre-TOS, or what it was, not what it looked like, but the beginnings of it. Mm-hmm. That was neat. And Dr. Phlox was really cool in that, seeing him wrestle with the ethical question of whether or not to give the one set of aliens the cure for their illness.
Yeah, that's a really powerful episode, and I think it's very, very Star Trek-y, that one. It's definitely on my list of favorites from season 1.
Yeah, it's really great. Next one is Shuttlepod 1, and the banter between Reed and Tucker was so funny, and it kind of reminded me of the relationships you see in other shows, like between Odo and Quark, or between Spock and Bones. And I didn't get the feeling that that's how they are all the time, but with the two of them in this combined little space freezing by, it was just whoops back and forth. And my favorite part of the whole thing was when they were arguing about what good literature is, and Malcolm was talking about like Ulysses and the British classics, and making fun of Trip for liking comic books and sci-fi novels, and Trip was saying something like, "Oh, I'll tell you that comic books have subtext on subtext. Superman is great," and I'm right there with that. Working in a library, I have discussions like that with parents a lot, actually, who have kids who don't want to read, and I tell them but they want to read comic books instead of regular books, and I'll have the same discussion. Hey, Superman has subtext upon subtext, so right with Trip on that one. And my last one is Shockwave Part 1, and I really, for me, it was up there with the best of both worlds. Just right from the get-go, when the whole, the population on the planet is just wiped out, and Archer just doesn't get it, and Hoshi's trying to tell him, like, you don't understand, they're all dead, they're all gone. And then just fast forward to the end when Archer is sent to the 31st century and he can't get back. I had goosebumps like I did watching The Best of Both Worlds when I was 10. So yeah, that was exciting. So I'm hoping that part 2 of that is going to hold up. So we'll see what's
It's terrible.
Library. It is.
Spoiler alert.
I'm just kidding. It's good.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, well, I'll let you know what I think.
Yes, I'm sure. Now, so have you ordered it from your library? Are you eagerly anticipating season 2, or are you going to wait a bit?
I'm eagerly anticipating. There's just been a delay because I asked for it in Blu-ray format, and they weren't able to get it, so I have to do DVD instead.
Okay.
That's okay. I can wait. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it's it definitely looks really good on Blu-ray. Season 4, if you can get it on Blu-ray, looks really, really, really good. Each season on Blu-ray looks a little bit better than the previous seasons.
Nice.
So, yeah, you're in for a fun treat. I mean, we talk about it quite a bit. We do a podcast on it. We talk about it not every week anymore. We're kind of on an interesting schedule right now, but we talk about it a lot. And last year we did an episode every week, and there's still a lot of ripe discussion to have, a lot of interesting places to go, and it's always fun when we get to meet somebody who's discovering it for the first time, because this is something that I watched when it aired live, and so it's interesting to get some perspectives from somebody who's seeing it for the first time right now, and especially somebody who's had Star Trek in their life for basically their whole lives. Mm-hmm. It's like there's this untapped chapter. So you've really got 2 shows right now that are new, because you've got Discovery and you've got Enterprise. And, so it's a very fun time for you, I think. And there's some really great episodes of Enterprise ahead of you. And there's some real stinkers. But, I think all Star Trek has that. So.
It's true. Yeah, it does.
Excellent. So, from what you've seen so far, are there any storylines that you're looking forward to seeing, or other than the Borg episode, is there anything else you've heard of that's coming that you are like, oh, this one sounds really intriguing?
The Temporal Cold War, I'm excited to see where that goes. Definitely with that one. And off the top of my head, my husband is a big fan of the WWE, and I know the Big Show has a little cameo in that upcoming episode. So I think he tried to call or something. So I'm excited to see that whenever that comes up.
That's not till season 4, honey. You got a ways to
go.
Yeah, that's deep.
Oh, well.
Deep. But Star Trek has a history of using WWE superstars.
Yeah, The Rock.
The Rock.
Yeah.
The Rock was in there, and now Big Show. He has a role that absolutely fits who he is. So
yes, it's fantastic.
I'm also a big wrestling fan. Not so much the WWE anymore, but.
Did you watch the Rumble last night?
Yeah, when we're done with this, we'll talk about that.
Okay, yes. Yes,
because I can make this a 4-hour podcast on that.
All right.
And tangents are fine. We always go off on tangents, but do not let Patrick talk about wrestling during the podcast.
Oh, okay. Duly noted. Yes. Should we talk about water polo instead?
We had a Canadian player on.
We did. A Canadian water polo player. We learned so much stuff.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
None of us could play it, for one.
Oh, no. I would die. I would die. Because you just have to be constantly swimming in the water. Constantly moving. It's just crazy.
Mm-hmm. I think I would get motion sick.
That's possible. I would just drown. I'd be like, nope, got a cramp. I'm going down. Bye.
I just get out. Forget this. You're playing man down. I'll be back in the second half.
What did Tripp say about it? Like, I love his accent. He said, like, and I thought it was just a bunch of guys fooling around in a pool. Like,
well, there is stuff that happens under the water because they try.
Oh yeah, we found that out.
Yeah, they try to do stuff that the referees can't see. So
and it was kind of intimated that the women are worse than the men when it comes to that.
Oh yeah,
because there's more bathing suit to grab a hold of.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really good interview. So her name was Joelle Bacazzi, and she was the Canadian National Women's Water Polo League captain. And we reached out to them and we're like, hey, we would love to learn about your sport. And so they put us in touch with with one of their players, and we had a great little interview, and we learned a lot about the sport. So yeah, it's back, and it's in our back feed because, we knew that Archer liked it, and we didn't know anything about it. So
I am so listening to that after this.
It was really good. It was a really good discussion. A lot of fun.
Yeah, she was a great. She was a great guest, and
very cool.
She was funny when, especially explaining the. Well, I think one of us, I don't remember who, but one of us like, well, is it all illegal? And she goes, nothing's illegal if you can't see it. Spoken like a true champion.
Love it.
Excellent. So, Kerry, is there any other aspects of the season that we haven't asked you about that you want to talk about?
Oh, I don't think so. Porthos. We have to talk about Porthos. I love Porthos. And he's actually my favorite Star Trek pet of all now, and my cat won't like that, me saying that. I'm actually a cat person, but I think Porthos is so cute, and I love seeing him in the episodes. And he shouldn't eat so much cheese.
He shouldn't eat so much cheese. So you prefer Porthos over Phlox's Pytherian bat?
Yeah. Sorry, Phlox.
Just by a little bit.
Yeah, just a little.
Tiny.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'm also a cat person, and I adore Porthos.
Mm-hmm.
I love Porthos, but I'm a dog person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up. We did an entire episode about Porthos because Porthos.
Yeah, but that was Brandi the cat person's idea. She loves that little doggy.
I do. He brings me joy.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about, maybe wrapping up then, a couple more of your favorite character moments, like maybe something from each of them, something from Phlox and something from Mayweather and T'Pol. I don't think you've mentioned them yet.
Yeah, Mayweather. I loved Mayweather, actually. I really wish they'd used him more. I feel like they really didn't do a character justice with his development, and I've heard that that's kind of the case in the whole series. So, but I loved it when he was telling the ghost story around the campfire in Strange New World. That was great. And the one where he met the other boomer, where they were
Fortunate Son.
Yes, with the Tholians, right? Yeah, I liked that one. That was a good one, too, just seeing him talk to someone else who had experienced a similar childhood, and that was neat. Trip, it was just talking about the comic books, but also he just had so many good one-liners that I thought were really funny, and of course, I'm not thinking of any of them now. Reed, I liked with Reed when they were trying to figure out what he liked to eat, and Hochi was just running all around trying to figure it out, and thought she was hitting on him, and that was awkward. And the beginning of that episode was cool when they talked to his parents, because I'm going off on another tangent here, but I used to love this British comedy show called Allo Allo, and
I love Allo Allo.
Yeah, Lieutenant Gruber was his dad.
Oh, yes, you're right.
Yeah, it was so cool to see him. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It didn't occur to me the few times that I've watched that, and now I feel like I'm going to go back and watch that again now.
Yeah, you have to. It's Lieutenant Gruber. It's exciting. Yeah.
Silent Enemy is such a great episode. Like both I've said it before in the podcast, both the A plot and the B plot are outstanding. They just feel so weird together. Because that's the one with the aliens that don't talk to them, and then they're looking for pineapple.
Well,
yeah, they really didn't weave that together very well.
Yeah.
But it was entertaining. It was a good episode.
Yeah, they were just about as far apart as they could be as far as content.
Yeah. T'Pol, there was so much to like about T'Pol. At the beginning, I found her a bit abrasive, but I think that's how they kind of portrayed her at the beginning. But I really like her, actually. And just trying to think, I liked in the Shadows of Pajem when she and Archer, they'd been in an adversarial relationship at some point. It seemed like they finally came together at the end of that, like really solidly came together, and seeing that was cool. And yeah, Archer, he's a very interesting character. I'm still trying to make up my mind about what I think of him, but he's got a lot of good fighting spirit. And anytime I see him with the dog is cool. And then the episode where they went to that planet and they were playing that game that looked, was it rugby or lacrosse? I can't remember. I don't remember the name of it.
I know.
Yes,
it was the episode
that one.
Desert Crossing.
Gascana.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I liked seeing him. Watching the two of them play, it looked like a scene out of Top Gun when they were playing the volleyball.
Yes, it did, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Like, oh, a bunch of sweaty men hurting each other. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. That was it. Exactly. Yeah, I think those were all my favorites. But yeah, Hoshi, she's my favorite of all of them. She's great. I think we need more Hoshi.
Awesome. Right on. I love that. That's great. Patrick, did you have any more questions for Kerry?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything I can think of.
Brandi, did you have anything else you wanted to ask?
Well, the only thing I can think of is, what are you hoping to see more of, or less of, or at all in season 2?
I'd love to see more of Hoshi and Mayweather and Porthos. And I'm really excited to see where the Temporal Cold War storyline goes. I'm looking forward to that a lot. And I know that Trip and T'Pol wind up together at some point. So I don't know how I feel about the two of them together, but I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes too. And as far as less of anything, nothing's coming to mind. I'm just really looking forward to seeing how the story develops.
Less wrist nipple.
Oh,
Actually,
yes.
I do
absolutely.
have a question. So I watched this like Brandon when it first happened, and I'm in New York. So this show came out in 2001, and so obviously things happened in New York at that time. Are you able to see the social themes that they're weaving in from that time, watching it so much later?
No, I wasn't thinking about it, but I'll have to go back and watch now, because I could, yeah, actually I was thinking about that before we started the podcast. I was comparing dates and thinking about, that was right around then. And yeah, there was probably a lot that I missed that I wasn't thinking about so far in the future. But yeah,
it comes up later more than it does in season 1, but I feel it does come up a little bit in season 1. You know, I just asked because as a New Yorker, that's one of the things that drew me to the show, but I felt that it drew people away from the show at the time because maybe it was too fresh. So I just want to know if you were thinking about that when you were watching it, and because that might be why some people, it grows on them as time goes by. The sting isn't as bad.
Right.
And,
and that might have been part of why I didn't start watching it too. I went to Gettysburg College, and that's like an hour outside DC. So it hit us all pretty hard down there too. So basically, I mean, I was in Queens. I saw the towers. Oh wow!
From where I was standing. So it's just funny because some people have the reaction you had, like, oh, it hit us really hard and that was too much, and then like I found comfort in the show. Through the experience, which is a very Star Trek thing. A lot of people, like even you said earlier on, that you watched the show and your social life at time in school wasn't so great, and a lot of people have that same kind of story with Star Trek.
A lot of people
in junior high school. In high school, it wasn't too bad. I was on a bunch of sports teams. Like junior high school and before that, I was a big kid, but I was a teddy bear, so I was picked on a lot, and that's when I watched most of my Star Trek as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people I've talked to have had a hard time being bullied, or just a hard time in school growing up. And that's a lot of the reason they watch Star Trek. So, common theme I see among fans.
Well, Kerry, thank you so very much for joining us tonight. It's been a thrill speaking with you.
Thank you so much.
It's been great. Getting a perspective of a new Enterprise fan, and we look forward to hearing more from you on season 2. But why don't you tell the listeners where they can find you on Twitter if they want to follow along for your season 2 watch, which will be coming up soon?
Yeah, you can find me at KerrBearLib. It's KerrBearLib. And if you're on Facebook, I also moderate a group called Trek Librarians. And you don't have to be a librarian. If you're a supporter of libraries, you can come join us. That's fine too. So love to see some of you there too.
Right on. Well, new Enterprise fans is not the only thing we've been discussing here on the network this week. So please take a listen to this clip and see what else you may have missed elsewhere on Trek FM.
Previously on Trek.fm, Meta Treks.
Wow, I had no idea that was possible. It's this ongoing link that exists between Michael Burnham and Sarek because of this mind meld that he had with her when she was a child.
Mike, I'm going to give you a Radio Shack joke because I know you and I both have Radio Shack experience. If this if this episode happened in the 1990s, they would have had prepaid long-distance mind meld cards.
To the journey!
But I do have a question. Why was Neelix focusing on classic American cuisine as a marketable job skill in going back to the Alpha Quadrant? Why classic American cuisine? Why not Chinese, Japanese, or Vulcan? Come on.
I think that the culinary tastes will continue to degrade for the next 3 or 4 centuries, and by the 24th century, it'll only be classic American that's left. You know, all other cuisine will have gone by the wayside.
So pot roast, pot pie, apple pie.
Yeah, every restaurant is Taco Bell, essentially. Yeah, it's the Demolition Man problem.
That's disgusting.
Literary Treks.
I think we could not do this novel without inviting a special guest, Amy Nelson. Amy, how are you doing?
Hi! I am so excited. Imzadi, Riker, Troy. It is the best. I am so grateful, honored, pleased that you even thought of me for coming on Literary Treks. So thank you so, so much.
Yeah, we're like, do you think there's anybody on the network that would like to talk about Deanna Troi?
I think I have corner on the market on that one.
Standard Orbit.
Vulcans are not incapable of showing emotion, but apparently they are incapable of lying. Quote unquote.
That's their reputation. I mean, who told you? Vulcans tell you that. Of course they would. I mean, that's their reputation, you know.
And that's what else is happening on Trek.fm.
Check out all these shows and join the conversation about your favorite corner of the Star Trek universe and beyond. You'll find us wherever you get your podcast. If you're an Apple user, be sure to hit the subscribe button in Apple Podcasts on iPhone, iPad, or Apple TV, or the desktop iTunes app to get the latest episodes as soon as they are published. And please leave a star rating and written review. If you're not an Apple user, we've got you covered as well. You can find our shows on Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Windows Phone, in most third-party apps, and you can stream and download the MP3 file from our website or grab the RSS link.
Boomers, you know we want to hear your thoughts on today's show, and you know there are so many ways for you to do that. The best place, as always, is to join our Facebook group, the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Oy vey. Just type Babel into the search field, Babel, and it'll come right up. It's probably going to be the first thing that comes up, and you can jump into the pool there. If you'd like to send us an email, you can use the form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and select Warp 5. That comes right to us. You can also find the network on Twitter at TrekFM and on Facebook at facebook.com/TrekFM.
Brandi.
Brandon.
Where can people find you when you're not breaking things off of alien bodies?
But I love doing that so much. It takes up a lot of my time. You can... Oh, sorry. I'm distracted now thinking about things I need to break off. Okay, so you can find me on Twitter at Brandywine12, Brandy with an I, 12 is a number. You can find me here on the network also doing Live from the Edge about each new episode of Star Trek Discovery. That is Friday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific with my good friend Bruce Gibson and a special guest. And so you'll have to just tune in to find out who the special guest is. I'm not squealing beforehand. And you can also find me on the Dark Corner podcast with my fab husband Dave, talking about stuff and things from a darker point of view. And we just recently did an episode about Chinese New Year that should be coming out about the same time. Actually, no, it's already out. Never mind. I just realized that. So, yeah, there's swears. So just be aware of that. So,
Patrick.
Yes, Brandon.
Where can people find you when you're not playing with your wrist nipple?
I was going to talk about you getting pregnant on a holodeck. So when I'm not doing that, I mean, I can do that and be in other places. It's not a one or the other type deal. So, well, you can find me on Twitter at MagicDrop5. It's one. There's no spaces. The 5 is a number, not words, not letters. And you can also find me on the Babel Conference every now and then, popping my head up. I do read a lot. I don't comment a lot. And you can find me, now that Discovery is back, you can find me every week coming to you with my good friend Amy on The Edge main show.
And on Twitter, you can also find Patrick blasting off with his nose rockets.
Yes. That's a spoiler alert. That's supposed to be a surprise for the lovely fans.
I can't unsee it.
So what?
That's been up for months.
I know, but I tweeted that a while ago. So Patrick's image on his Twitter page is him with his vape machine.
I'm blowing a massive vape
out of his
cloud.
nose, and I'm like, it looks like you're taking off for orbit with like your nose boosters or something like that.
So, Brandon, when you're not making me a miserable human being, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Brandon-Shea Mutala, where I don't have nose rockets. And you can find me here on the network with Melodic Treks, which is all about the music of Star Trek. And you can find me on the Fandom Podcast Network with my friends Chris and Tom. Once a month, we talk Hitchcock with Good Evening and Alfred Hitchcock Podcast. And I don't know when we're releasing this episode. It's going to be January 1st or January 8th, February 1st or February 8th. But on February 1st, we had John Champion guest on our Alfred Hitchcock podcast to talk Secret Agents. So if you like John Champion, you should check that out. It was a really, really good discussion on a pretty good Hitchcock film. Breaking the Waves is intermittent over on Cinematic Sound Radio Network. And over on the United Federation of Podcast Network, my friend Zach Moore and I have a podcast called Franchise Fatigue, where we go over all of the films in a movie franchise. And that's all I got for you. I guess I should probably talk about Patreon now. If you'd like to help us keep all our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/TrekFM. That's patreon.com/TrekFM to get all the details. Perks include early access to episodes, exclusive content, producer credits, and more, including trips to the moon via Patrick's nose. Boogers. Not boogers.
No. I wasn't gross.
Vape.
It's
not
vape.
Boogers.
It's not snot flying out of my face.
It's not boogers, people. I'm sorry.
And this is why you can't trust Brandon.
Please, I'm hurting. Please stop.
It requires a great deal of money to produce, host, and distribute these shows each month, as well as sending Patrick to the moon. We really appreciate any support you can give us and hope you'll join the team. Again, you'll find...
Hey, I'm the first Trek FM host to go to the moon. All right? That means something. I've gotten closer to Star Trek than all of you.
Please,
You're more of a fan. Again, you'll find all the details at patreon.com/TrekFM. And at this time, we'd like to thank our wonderful associate producers, none of whom play with their wrist nipples. Norman C. Lau, Floyd Dorsey, Mike Morrison, Tim Cooper, Justin Ozer, Mark Flessa, Chris Tribuzio, and Jim McMahon. Well,
Chris Tribuzio goes to the moon.
I was also going to say Chris probably plays with his wrist nipples too, but...
he vapes, so he goes to the moon too.
Excellent, right on. Well, until next time, if Brandi makes it, keep calm and boom on.
I'm gonna need resuscitation.
Poor Brandi might die.
Get her a drink of water.